Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting here in the City of Woodbury for tonight, May 26th, 2021, 7:30 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order and have a few notes just to kick things off. Due to COVID-19, the City Council meeting is taking place of us both virtually at Woodbury City Hall and in the council chambers. By the way, a little note on that. We've kind of liked this format. It's nice to have people be able to, I feel like I'm echoing. It's a little loud. Now let me shut that one off. Okay, maybe, that's better. We might, even though it's due to COVID that we're doing this, we might continue this for a while in the future to allow people to be at home and be able to participate in the meeting. Members of the public may attend the meeting. Visitors and Woodbury employees at city facilities who are not fully vaccinated for COVID-19 are strongly encouraged to wear a face covering in accordance with MDH and CDC recommendations until they're fully vaccinated. Members of the public may also join us using their PC, their Mac, their iPad, an iPhone, or an Android device. Public comments will be accepted during the meeting both in person and by using the link to the virtual meeting to join the meeting, and then submit your questions. And it says usually using the Q&A chat feature. There's a challenge tonight with Microsoft Teams, so it's not the Q&A feature, it's the chat feature. So if you're online and want to comment in, look for that chat feature. Questions regarding the meeting will also be taken between the hours of 8 and 4:30 via council@woodburymn.gov or by calling 615-714-3524 and leaving a voicemail message. Please note that all agenda times are estimate. And as is our tradition, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll also add, you see a lot of empty chairs here, and during COVID, we've had a lot of staff that normally attends, our city clerk, our attorney. They're joining us virtually tonight. At some point in time, we might gather them all back, but right now we still have a lot of staff online virtually. In addition, we'll do roll call in a minute, but our city council member, Steve Morris, who normally sits here, is delayed in travel with his work. So I think he was hoping to be here and he'll be back soon. So with that, Kim Blazer, who is our city clerk, is here virtually. And Kim, would you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Wilson,
Here.
Councilmember Date,
Here.
Councilmember Santini,
Here.
Councilmember Morris is absent at this time. Mayor Burt.
Here. So we do have a quorum so we can conduct tonight's business. Looking at the agenda, we do not have any special order of business for tonight, so we'll move on to the open forum. So I'll read this statement and probably add a few extra comments. The open forum is the portion of the council meeting where a maximum of 3 persons will be allowed to address the council on subjects which are not part of the meeting agenda. So note that I said 3 persons. Persons wishing to speak must complete a sign-up sheet prior to the start of the meeting and give the sign-up sheet to a staff person. You may also submit a question or comment virtually via the Q&A chat feature on the right side of the live event screen. Please provide the name and address with your question for the official record. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes each. The council will listen attentively to comments, but in most instances will not respond at the meeting. Typically, replies to the concerns expressed will be made via letter or phone call within a week. So I want to say that I do have green sheets up here. I don't know if anyone else had wanted to submit one, but I have 4 of them. But I'm going to ask, as I said, we'd like to really, and I was able to speak with a lot of you out standing outside, combine your comments. So if I could have a spokesperson from each of the particular topics, that would be best. You can also submit, things to us at that council@woodburymn.gov or specifically to any council members. You may also come back to another meeting. If your particular point wasn't addressed, please come back to another meeting. But tonight, we're going to be looking at maybe only 3 or 4 speakers. So I'm going to start first. And I understand there's a lot of people here to talk about the gold line. I think I've got a party who's for the gold line and a party who's against the gold line. So I think I'm going to be asking for 1 speaker from each of those areas. In addition, Joe Ward did not put your topic on here, but I think you're here to talk about environment. Where are you, Joe? Environment and sustainability. So that's a different topic. So the 3 topics that I have for tonight are for gold line, against gold line, and then sustainability and environment. Are there any other, did I miss anything, or is there anyone else that needs something else they want to talk about? Okay, and you're, Okay, well, again, I'm going to have I'm asking for one speaker from each. You can add that, but I'm going to listen to one from each party, if that's okay. Well, it's not okay. I'm saying it's okay. That's what I'm doing. So you know what? I'm going to start, Joe Ward, I'm going to start with you. And I think you do have a group of people here, but you're going to speak on behalf of your group. And you're welcomed if you want to have the group stand up or wave or whatever. Cheerlead, I don't know, did you bring pom-poms or anything?
We're a sedate but very dedicated group.
So, Joe, if you could start with your name and your address for the official record, and then, yeah, you do have a large group here, so.
I'm Joe Ward. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, now, if you're
I'll
comfortable,
pull
you
the
can take
mask
that
off.
off, because then we can hear you a lot better. Thanks.
I live at 7817 Somerset Circle here in Woodbury, and my wife Joanne and I have lived in Woodbury since 1974. Mayor Burt and City Council members, thanks for the privilege of being here this evening. I've been asked to stand before you today with the folks here with me and online who have studied and done their homework. We have the data and the understanding that leads us to this call for action. As citizens, we recognize the city has done much to address the environmental issues, achieving Step 5 in the Green Step program, generating renewable energy and use of geothermal in many buildings, working with the watershed districts, managing stormwater and with state agencies on the forever chemicals, and importantly, partnering with the Mets Council to bring the Gold Line bus rapid transit to Woodbury. We think that's a really important step, an important environmental step for us. We applaud you, and we're asking you to do more. Carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are causing changes to climate and weather that poses threats to the biosphere and human existence. Carbon dioxide is the highest it's been in 800,000 years. We've already warmed the planet by 1.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Many Minnesota cities have declared climate emergencies and developed and are developing climate action plans to address this crisis. They include Rochester, Duluth, St. Louis Park, Northfield, Grand Marais, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Maplewood, Edina, and Winona. While we can't affect what happens in other nations, we urge the City Council and the Mayor to think globally but act locally. We respect and understand our resource limitations, yet we're convinced that there is no more time to wait. To get the plan started, let's begin in 2022 with benchmarking and setting measurable, timely goals for greenhouse gas emissions, and build from there. We're one of the top 10 cities in the US to live in. We want Woodbury to lead for climate as well. All of us here urge you all to fund and develop Woodbury's Climate Resilience Action Plan as called for in the 2030 and 2040 comprehensive plans beginning now. And we hope you hear our voices. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
We'll have a copy of the letter and everyone is signed, and we'll provide that before the meeting's over.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to the two groups that want to talk about the Gold Line. I'll just state too, you might be aware that we are having a workshop immediately following this meeting on the Gold Line. One of the things that I've tried to make clear in the recent, a couple of these city council meetings that we've had is that much of what's occurred surrounding the Gold Line has happened outside of what Woodbury is responsible for. In fact, we have very little involvement in this. The Gold Line seems to be coming this way. It's planned to come this way. But our role has been very limited. The funding partners or other funding partners, our funding is very limited. That said, what I'm setting this up to tell you about the meeting following this tonight is on the workshop, and it is on the Gold Line master plan. The master plan has to do with what the city is going to be doing around the 3 station areas. So it's the planning for that. And we realize that, you know, when a line like this is coming to our community, that we want it to meet certain standards. We have standards for lighting, for safety, security, landscaping. I think that's about it. But where that's going to go. So that's what the topic is on tonight. So if anybody wants to speak to that, You're welcome to hang, and anyone can always hang around to our meeting tonight. But if you want to speak to anything related to that master plan, you're welcome to do that tonight at our workshop meeting. But right now, this is the open forum, and you're allowed to talk on any topic, but the two topics more that we're going to hear on is gold line for, gold line against. I'll just summarize it that way. So I'll start with Amanda Hemmingson-Yeager. I think are you generally the spokesperson for the gold line, or is?
My name's Amanda. Actually, we're going to be having Mr. Isaac Dye speak on behalf of the community member support and community organization support.
Okay, that's great. I don't have a worksheet from you, do I?
No.
Okay, I just need that. I need the official name and address when you come up. So I have it, yeah.
Opposed to speak first if we need one.
Okay, that's fine. All right, then we'll get opposed. So I think I had a couple of people, but I spoke mostly with Karen Bauman, I think. Were you going to be this? You're speaking again. Okay, and then I think, who's this other, is this Paul? Am I reading that right? Okay, so were you able to consolidate and she's able to speak for you? Okay, so Karen, please come forward. Name and address, and then if any people want to stand up in your support or cheerlead or whatever you want to do, you can do.
Right. My name's Karen Bauman. I live at 7894 Dunmore Road in Woodbury. The reason I wanted to speak against this is, first of all, the climate of business going into downtown and just the whole business world has changed. I was a 351 express bus rider out of the Woodbury Lutheran, and yeah, we needed buses coming home sometimes, or I would plan my route, I would just park at Sunray. But what has happened to the business, I'm also a state of Minnesota employee, which they were always totally against any teleworking. And because we went home, we fast-tracked, we got ourselves on board, and immediately they seen that we could do a lot of work at home. They have now told us that they have got rid of 2 of their buildings already, and they are going to be, whoever wants to stay home is pretty much going to get to stay home, or they're going to have you do staggered because they're going to share cubicles. They're downsizing, and I've talked to others in the business district in the St. Paul area, and their businesses are downgrading as well. The whole climate has changed. I know some of you were not on the initial phase of this being planned, but because of COVID and how things changed, you need to relook at this entire process. And all we really need, and I'm not sure when that 323 bus is gonna start coming through Woodbury, but really, we just need a connection to Sunray. We don't need a bus going down on a platform down Bielenberg. Like I say, Sunray has 5 bus routes. One of them takes you out to Maplewood. Maplewood has, like, I think 4 other bus routes that are going out there. On these bus routes, you can get to Oakdale, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Maplewood, Woodbury, White Bear Lake, Landfall. You can get around town very easily. We just need a bus to get people there. And I think that 323 is going to be an excellent thing that is really just what we would need. I know some of the highlights to have this platform is that you'll have you can get to job centers, housing, transit lines. The buses do the same thing. When they put that green line down University, the 16 bus did the same exact thing that the green line does. And you didn't have to have platforms that you're going to have somebody shovel, de-ice, pick up trash, and take care of crime. So those are some key points that the reason why you don't want to have something that's going to take extra work other than just a bus. And I know the gentleman just handed me a sheet, so he had some points here that, some of you did not plan this initially. And so you as a board can actually look over this whole process and redo it, redesign it, see what is really needed in Woodbury. And I think that's what your board needs to do. It's fundamentally way too expensive, and Lake Elmo said no to it. Woodbury can say no to it. It can still go on however they want. But the one big thing that I was disappointed in is when the Woodbury Theater, I think his name's Nathan, when he found out that people were saying they were going to take that down, he said on his Facebook that he spoke to you guys. and that you said, oh, well, we're okay with you keeping it, but it's up to the Met Council. I want to ask this board, do you think that the Met Council should dictate who stays in a business in Woodbury? Or is that your role? Are you city council members to support us and protect our city? Or are you going to let Met Council run our city? Because then maybe you should just step down out of your chairs and you're not needed. I mean, it really, run a bus and you're gonna have all that you need. So you don't need fancy platforms, it's just extra work and extra things. So I highly think that you should rethink about it, look it over, and say no to it for Woodbury. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. So like I said at the beginning, we typically don't provide comment here. We'll provide a letter or phone call within a week to follow up on this. But when there's some misinformation, I'm going to make a point of correcting it publicly. Just make a point about the Woodbury 10 Theater, because there's been some misunderstanding about that. The Met Council owns the building and they own the parking lot. The Woodbury 10 Theater leases that from them. So that is a business arrangement between the Woodbury 10 Theater and the Met Council. So as you speak to, are we going to let the Met Council dictate? They own the building. They get to dictate. It's their contract that they have with that Woodbury 10 Theater. So I know many of us, I've loved the theater. We've used it for years. My kids have loved it. It's a great theater. We would love to see that business stay here, but it's not up to us here at the council to decide if that business stays or if they find a different home in Woodbury or just what their arrangement is with the Met Council. But again, the Met Council owns the building and they get to figure out what their lease is going to be. That's how that works. So just wanted to clarify that. But beyond that, your comments are very much appreciated. You bring up a lot of good points. I would suggest to everybody, if you have not yet gone onto the FAQ that we have on our website, to please take some time. We've gotten so many great questions which have been raised by the community, which has been outstanding, and we have answered a lot of those in detail. So if you haven't spent time looking at that yet, I really encourage you to do so. So thank you again, Karen, for your comments. And now we have you, which I don't know your name yet because it's not Amanda anymore. Thank you. Okay, and if you could just come up and address as well. So did you say Isaac Dye?
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Hi, well, I'm Isaac Dye. I live at 9014 Princeton Bay in Woodbury, and I'm here to speak on behalf of in favor of the Gold Line Bus Rapid Transit Plan. I've been a lifelong Woodbury resident. I'm only 18 years old, so it's not as impressive as some of you. But I think I've really seen the city grow for the entire time I've been here, and I think a crucial step to continuing that is going to be the Gold Line BRT. Over the past year, we've seen the huge impact our business communities have had because of the COVID pandemic, but also other underlying factors. And the BRT is going to provide a huge influx of customers from all over the East Metro with the continual service. Businesses have struggled both to find customers and to find workers. And again, we can help a lot of people that don't have continual access to a car get to those good paying entry-level jobs in the northwest corner of the city. And so we can support businesses. I understand people are worried about what's going to happen to businesses, but we can see, through all of the economic development studies that this is going to be a huge boon for our business community if we can have continual customers and continual labor. And also just addressing, talking about the master plan. It's time that we start to redevelop that northwest quadrant of Woodbury because it hasn't seen a big investment in decades. And the master plan is really going to help us bring higher density housing and more businesses. And that's going to be really important in bringing young families into our community, more young people into our community, because as we all know, our community is aging because people love Woodbury so much that they're staying in their homes, and we need to continually increase that supply of housing. And the master plan is going to be really important in helping young people get an entry-level apartment and begin to bring their families and children to Woodbury and work in our stores and restaurants. And that's going to be another really important step in making sure that when I come back from college later on in life, that I can have a place that I can afford to rent or to live in when I move back to Woodbury. And finally, to sort of talk about, sort of address the environmental concerns, this is also a huge step in reducing our carbon emissions, because the biggest level of carbon emissions that we create is with our individual vehicles. And if we can encourage more people to carpool or to use the bus lane, we can reduce those emissions a lot, even more effectively than the than the stop and ride that we had earlier, because of the more frequent service. It's more flexible, and more people will take that to their jobs all along that corridor, not just in downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul. So I really commend the council for their continued support of the Gold Line BRT, and especially the master plan and how we're going to revitalize Woodbury, and especially that northwest quadrant. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Did you want any of your people standing up and being acknowledged for who they are?
Smaller number, but mighty
But,
in spirit.
yeah.
You guys should have all received a nice packet of letters that was from.
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, and thank you for bringing that up. I did want to acknowledge that because we did get a pile of letters. We got them by email earlier this week, but they've all been printed here, so they will become part of the official record as well. So,
That is a small sampling, those reflect only 8 days.
okay, that's great. Thank you. Again, I don't always add comments, but I have just one more to add, and that is just to be clear on, this project is really being driven by the Met Council, Ramsey County, and Washington County. The funding sources for this are primarily Washington County and Ramsey County. Many of you know this project has been in the works for 13 or 14 years now. As you can imagine, there's a lot of work that has to go into a massive project like this. So in many cases, the buses left the station or the trains left the track on this whole thing. Our focus now in the city is looking at that master plan and what to do around those station areas. I also just want to encourage, we're so glad that you're here to speak your voice. It's important. But if you haven't yet also spoken to Washington County, I encourage you to do that. They've got their Washington County meetings are almost every Tuesday, if not 3 or 4 times, several times on Tuesday. They have theirs during the day. And they are the funding source for this, for our area. So if you want to speak to them as well, please encourage you to go meet with the county commissioners. And then in addition, on that FAQ, you will find the Gold Line Project Office. Liz Jones is your contact there to relay any other information. Washington County, it's Sarah Allen. And then, of course, we've got Woodbury Planning Commission involved. So that information is all in the FAQ. So thank you again. Really appreciate your comments. Thank you for being here tonight on that. We'll now move on to the next portion of our meeting, which is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion and an affirmative vote by roll call of the majority of the members present. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and considered a separate subject of discussion by the council. So with that, is there anybody in the audience that wants any item from the consent agenda to be removed? Seeing none, I'll turn to my fellow council members. Any removal of anything? Okay, hearing none, I'll be looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda, items A through O.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All right, Kim Blazer, City Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Date,
Aye.
Councilmember Santini,
Aye.
Mayor Burt.
Aye. Those consent agenda items pass. I want to just make a special note and congratulate our public safety team. We have trained several paramedics to become firefighter paramedics, and that was one of the things we approved. So congratulations to all of those that are moving into that additional role in our public safety department. We'll now move on to a public hearing. We have two public hearings tonight. The first one is on Caliber Collision. Janelle is here to speak about that. Thank you, Janelle Schmitz. With this, I am officially opening the hearing. And Janelle, please share with us.
Thank you, Mayor Burt, members of the City Council. Cross Architects has submitted an application for a conditional use permit, or CUP, for an automotive repair shop to be called Caliber Collision. The property is located at 10450 Hudson Road, which is the former site of the Goodwill store, about a half-mile east of Woodbury Drive. The property is currently zoned B2, General Business District, and is guided as places to shop on the land use plan. The original site plan for the Goodwill store was approved by the city in January of 2009. The Goodwill store recently relocated to 9885 Hudson Place. Caliber Collision is a national brand that specializes in automotive repair. They will include services such as hood replacement, fender repair, hail damage, light interior, molding, and windshield replacement. The applicant is proposing to conduct all repair activities inside the building with the doors closed. A conditional use permit is required for repair garages in the B2 district. The findings for a CUP are contained in a draft resolution in the council's packet. The applicant is proposing to utilize the existing access points from Hudson Road for vehicle access into the site. Pedestrian access, although minimal, can be achieved via the trail on the south side of Hudson Road. For automotive uses, the zoning ordinance requires 3 spaces for each enclosed bay and 1 space for each day shift employee. There are 12 interior bays, and they will have 21 employees per shift, requiring 57 stalls. The current customer parking contains 64 stalls. The applicant is proposing to utilize and create 32 stalls on the south and west side of the property to park vehicles that are both waiting to be repaired or that have been repaired and are ready to be picked up. This would result in a total of 96 stalls. The vehicles will be allowed to remain on-site for a period of time not to exceed 48 hours. This is a standard condition that we have used for other auto repair shops. This is just another view of what that exterior storage would look like. So you can kind of see the fenced area here around the west and south side of the building. The zoning ordinance requires that commercial buildings be constructed of at least 65% Class 1 material. The existing building is 73.5% Class 1, and the applicant is proposing to add 3 additional overhead doors. But this will not reduce the Class 1 materials below the 65%. Part of Caliber Collision's business model is to keep the vehicles on site for a period of time. In order to comply with the zoning ordinance regarding storage, the storage would need to be fully hidden from view. So they are proposing a masonry fence that will be along that western and southern side of the property. And this would match the existing building in terms of accomplishing the screening. They will also be adding landscaping in these areas to help soften the view of the wall. And here you can see the building elevations where they are adding some of the additional or the new overhead doors. The applicant is proposing to install 6 additional trees and 78 new shrubs along the south and west sides of the masonry wall to soften the visual expanse of the wall from the street. The existing trees and shrubs will remain on site. The stormwater management for the site was designed to meet the ordinance at the time that the original building was built in 2009. And because the extra impervious surface does not exceed the standards to amend the stormwater, they do not need to do any additional stormwater. However, our engineering department has requested that a hydrodynamic separator be added to prevent chemical runoff from running into the rain gardens that are on site in these 2 parking medians. The final specifications of that hydrodynamic separator would be approved by staff prior to the building permit. We did have a neighborhood meeting on April 12th. There were 2 attendees virtually, and there were no questions. And I believe our Planning Commission representative, Ryan Christensen, is here in the audience. And I believe also the applicant, Brett Flory of Cross Architects, might be available by Teams if there should be any questions.
Okay. You want to come forward and welcome Ryan?
Thank you very much, council members, Mayor Burt. So we had a pretty lengthy discussion about this particular item. Building seems to fit in really well with the surroundings. There was a lot of thought given to the neighbors. Just to the south, there's some residences. Fume hoods will be installed to mitigate any sort of smell. Council recommended approval, or Planning Commission recommended approval of 6-0. Not a whole lot else to. This is my first time doing this, so forgive me if I'm stumbling a little bit. But yeah, it seems like a great project. Brings 20 plus jobs to the community. So, Planning Commission approved.
Great, thank you. You did a great job, and thank you for serving on our commission. It's greatly appreciated. Any other comments from the public, or the applicant have anything to add? Or the applicant's available by Teams. I don't know if there's any. Maybe nothing to add. Okay, with that, then I'll make a motion that we close the hearing.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the hearing is closed. I'll now open it up to council members for comments or questions.
I really like the fact that there's this great reuse of this property, and what seems to be rather quickly. Am I not on? Sorry.
Oh, I think
Am I good? Sorry. No, it is on.
it's on.
Yeah, these aren't working, the red ones there, yeah. Anyway, I had a question about the pedestrian access. I know it did say, that yes, it is minimal. So would we think that there would be crosswalks on those two access points if they were wanting to access the southern trail along Hudson?
Councilmember Santini, I don't believe there would be a crosswalk at this point. I think our traffic control committee would look at that in the future if we got such a request, but there's very little, I would think very little pedestrian traffic to an automotive repair.
Well, and so my only thought, and I guess maybe this would be the applicant, is, and again, I know that this is more of a collision, so maybe they don't find people sitting and sort of waiting around as much, but then do we feel comfortable thinking, because the visual, I think it's the fire lane technically, and then it would go back. Does that go into then, that one road would go into sort of the backside? Is that Walmart there?
This right in here?
Yes,
Yep.
right? And so do we feel comfortable? I just am wondering if they had pedestrian, if they had somebody that's waiting and wants to walk over to the shopping center, because it's not that far, do we feel comfortable walking that property? I just don't envision them crossing to Hudson, crossing Hudson to go down, to get to the crosswalk at the light, to get back into the shopping center. So I just didn't know.
Councilmember Santini, I would feel that they would be fairly comfortable. There's not going to be a lot of traffic in that. I mean, it's really a driveway for kind of access, and maybe right now I think it's more of a kind of a loading area that, again, doesn't get used very often because nobody's there.
Right.
So yes, if you were bringing your car in and you had just a couple of hours you needed to waste and you wanted to run over to Walmart, and you could easily walk through there to get over to the Walmart
That was
parking
my
lot.
only, okay, thank you.
I just have a question about the masonry fence. So can you just go back to the picture? Yeah, this one. So I feel like this is a higher view looking down. So what again is the height of that fence?
I will have to look on that one moment.
Yeah, because from this angle, it looks like you can still see the cars, but I'm just kind of guessing if it.
I'm guessing it's
was a
not going to be
lower
much
angle.
more than 6 feet because that's typically our requirement for a fence.
Okay.
One moment. I don't know if they give a dimension. Yes, it is 6 feet 3 inches, I think, is what I'm seeing here.
Okay.
On the fence column.
Okay.
So about 6 feet
So
tall.
again, from a car view driving by or somebody walking by, you're not really going to be able to see up and over that fence like is shown in these. Okay, that's good to know.
You can kind of see back in here again, you can get some very slight,
Yeah.
substantially screened from view is sort of our standard. And again, this does not show the additional trees, I don't believe, that are planned to be planted
Okay, and that
in
was
there.
my other question. I don't see them here, but it truly was along that fence line. The
Yes.
shrubs and trees are on the outside
So
of
there are
that.
3 additional trees, these 3 here.
Uh-huh,
And then I believe these are linden, and I believe these are white spruce.
okay. And then did you say like 78 shrubs? Did I hear that too?
Yes,
And
something
those are
like-
going, again, on the outside of that fence?
You can see all these little circles
Oh,
underneath
yeah,
here?
okay,
Yep.
got it. All right, so that's helpful. Okay, I think that's my questions. Anybody else?
I just second that this is a great reuse opportunity. I'm excited to see this building used. I'm excited to see the jobs coming to Woodbury. Clarification question about the parking. So did you say that we require 3 parking spots per stall plus 1 per employee?
One moment. 3 spaces for each enclosed bay, and then 1 for each employee.
And does an enclosed bay hold 1 car?
I believe so.
So can you help me understand why we would have, that makes sense, because you'd have carryover or whatever, but then there's all that additional storage on top of that. So what scenario would they have 3 cars per enclosed bay plus additional storage needs? It seems like 3 per bay would meet the needs, so
I don't know that I have an answer for that. we would, certainly can look at our parking ordinance at this point. The applicant is happy with the requirement, and they're asking for additional in terms of adding this area for their storage. We haven't looked at that parking ordinance in a while, is my understanding.
I guess that's what I was wondering, is why are they asking for more parking? And the reason why I would care about that is just
Impervious.
additional impervious surface, and if it's not necessary, why add it? It looks nice with the fence and everything, I appreciate what they're doing, I'm just concerned about over parking.
I'll just, from what I can tell, I noticed on a different picture, it looks as though that is enclosed. So I don't know if there's a security reason, or if cars are partly fixed and not fully fixed, or if there's a reason why did they add all of that extra parking and not just use the existing parking lot? Is that kind of
Right, I mean, what scenario would you have 3 cars per the ordinance plus additional storage needs?
I would tend to agree with what, I'm not by any means a mechanic or a
Neither are
body
we.
shop person.
Yeah.
But when you have body work done on the car, sometimes they have to park them and let them sit. No matter, even the windshields, they have to let them sit for a couple hours. And I think I heard you say that they're replacing the windshields. So they can be in and out. But in terms of the locked area, I'm imagining those would be for the overnight cars that have to be there longer than,
So again, in the parking, these are, I believe, the ones that are being worked on, and these are the ones that are done. Is there an applicant talking? Did I hear somebody? Okay.
Are you getting any text messages, Clint? And no, nothing
Okay.
on this? Okay.
I mean, I think maybe it is the uniqueness of it being a collision facility, so
Yeah.
what you just said kind of made sense. If the applicant is able to clarify that, that'd be good.
Sure,
but,
we can work on that. I think part of it too is there's timing. Again, they're not in and out in the same day, so sometimes as they're working on one in the facility, they need to store one outside while they're waiting for a part to come in or things of that nature, so they're not always,
I
working on them in the same time.
I totally understand that, but they have the 3 stalls already for that. So it's 3 stalls on top of
Okay.
quite a bit more. So I get that you might have 1 car that's finished, 2nd car that's finished, 3rd one's that's finished, then you're in the stall with the 4th one.
maybe they're bringing them in for estimates. So that's why maybe.
Janelle, did we consider a proof of parking? That's been a very effective tool to, to have at our discretion to require additional parking if we find that the base parking is not
And
sufficient.
yes, and they're over our base parking, so that is, I think,
Hello,
the
can
question
y'all
that
hear
you're
me?
asking.
I can answer your question.
Thank
If you can
you.
hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you state your name and
Oh, okay.
address?
Yeah, this is Brett Flory with Cross Architects, 879 Junction Drive, Allen, Texas, 75013.
Great, thank you. Go ahead. Yeah, if you can
Okay.
shed some light on this, that would be great.
Yeah, I was trying to chime in, but it took me a while to get through. But so yeah, we are not adding any additional impervious surface. We're just we're just building a fence around it, some parking that's already back there, I believe.
My understanding, Brett,
At
is
least-
that you are adding about 4,000 square feet in this area?
Okay, but I think we were below the threshold then for having to do a drainage.
Yes,
study.
you're
But
below
anyway,
yep.
Yeah, so we did try to put the outdoor vehicle storage area out in front of the building originally, and the planning staff recommended that, they didn't really like seeing that fence out in front of the building. So they asked if we could figure out a way to get it behind the building. That was one of the first comments we got. And so we, even though it costs more to put it behind the building, we did that to, satisfy what they wanted to see on that. Typically, the way Caliber operates is unless a car's been, damaged where it can't be driven, most of the vehicles driven in by the customer by appointment. When they get the insurance service riders look at it and they decide if they're going to fix it or not, or total it. If it's totaled, they get it out of there within 24 hours, so there's no total cars kept there. But so they're very efficient in their operation, and then the customer would come back by appointment when the parts are ready, and it just goes right into the shop. But sometimes, you know, they might not be ready right then when it gets there. They might be waiting for a part or something, and so they'll park the car outside, and that's kind of the purpose for the vehicle storage. Normally, they'll have, you know, 3 stalls per. One technician works in 2 stalls, so he works on 2 cars at a time, and they like to have 3 or 2 spaces outside for each stall inside, and that way it kind of just makes it the most efficient way for them to operate the shop. They can have one that's getting ready to come in, kind of a pre-stage. They can have, and then they can have one that's been already repaired, waiting for the customer to come pick it up. So that's where the 3 comes from. So one would be outside before they fix it, one would be inside getting fixed, and then back outside after it's fixed.
So isn't our current ordinance 3 stalls, 3 parking spots per stall, and the applicant is requesting quite a bit of additional parking? My question is, why the additional parking on top of the ordinance?
Well, that 3 per stall is, you know, basically there's a whole lot of parking out in front of the building that will be used by, well, there's actually not that much, but that's mostly what Goodwill used, and that would be used by the customers, and the employees would park out there. So the stalls behind the masonry screen wall would just be the cars that are been repaired, or the customer cars that have already been repaired. All the insurance, Caliber works with all the major insurance companies, and they require all the vehicles to be secured at, you know, all times when it's in their possession. And so that's why, even if a car was fixed, it would be parked behind the fence.
This is my perception.
But
Tell me if I'm wrong. They needed to add the extra stalls around the outside of the building, inside the fence line, for the cars that are being worked on to meet that insurance thing that he just talked about. It's my perception that a lot of the parking that existed with the former building, which was a Goodwill, the parking in front, might be minimally used. And maybe in the ideal world, we would ask them to remove some spaces so that we wouldn't have so much impervious. But it sounds like it meets the ordinance without having to add additional stormwater. And so I think my perception is there'll be just some extra parking out front that will be minimally used, but they needed to add the extra around the outside of the building, inside the fence line, that's secured and locked for their business purposes. Do I have that right, Brent?
that is correct. That is correct, yes.
All right, thank you for the clarification, Mayor, that was helpful. And I'm okay with this. I'm happy, like I said, to see this new business coming in. I just really wanted to understand that, but it brought up a really good point about, you know, the difference between the minimum and should we have a maximum, or do we just need to look at it again and have a different minimum? And then if a company comes in and they have a good justified reason for why they need more, you know, that would be fine. But this way, I don't know, I guess, yeah, maybe we need to look at a maximum.
Yeah, Councilmember Date, we haven't typically had a maximum because, again, businesses have their specific needs that might go beyond our code. We tend to get through that by having a minimum green space requirement. So that sort of balances that so that they're not paving the whole thing. So we do check to make sure that they're within that 30%.
Okay, thank you. One other quick question, and you can make it super quick. I'm just very curious about this engineering request. I don't remember what the fancy word was, but I liked hearing it, and it wasn't something I thought about. So can you just reassure us that all concerns related to chemicals will be disposed of properly, and that we're going to have no concerns with water?
Yep, Councilmember Date, thank you for that. That came up several times at the Planning Commission as well as talking about some of the special permits that they need for the materials that they handle on site. So there's state permits required for some of these materials that they ask or have on site. And then again, our engineering has gone, I think, above and beyond in terms of the hydrodynamic separator, that's the term. So to protect these rain gardens that you see here on the site.
If there's no other comments or questions, I'll be looking for a motion, but I would also like to acknowledge, I think, do I need to do this officially, Kim Blazer, that Steve Morris is now present and checked in for the record? Welcome, Steve. And it sounded as though from what I was able, you were tuned in for a bit of this, so you've heard much of the discussion. Okay, oh, okay.
If there are no further comments, I'll move to adopt a motion approving the Caliber Collision Conditional Use Permit based on the findings of fact in Resolution 21-106, subject to the conditions as outlined in Council Letter 21-136.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, Kim Blazer, please do the roll call.
Councilmember Date,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Abstain.
Councilmember Santini,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Burt.
Aye. Well, congratulations. Good luck with getting the project pulled together. And again, I'll echo what I heard already. It's just really nice to see a reuse of this facility and a new business coming to town. So thank you for that and good luck with your project. We'll now move on to the next open hearing. I'm opening the hearing now for Aster Landing, rezoning, plan unit development, conditional use permit, and preliminary plat. And Janelle, you're going to present on this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Burt, members of the City Council. TEG Land Holdings LLC has submitted an application for a rezoning, planned unit development, or PUD, conditional use permit, or CUP, and a preliminary and final plat for a new subdivision to be called Aster Landing. The property is located at 9640 Dale Road, approximately a third of a mile west of Woodbury Drive. The property is currently zoned R2, single-family estate, and guided as rural estate on the land use plan. I will mention there was a typo in the council letter that had this listed as R1 instead of R2, and that was also on your agenda for the recommendation. You should have an updated agenda here tonight reflecting the R2 designation that it currently is zoned. The property is guided as rural estate on the land use plan in the city's comprehensive plan. However, as you can see on the map on the screen, there's a large blue asterisk that is right on this property or near this property, which indicates that the ultimate urban service area, or MUSA line, will be determined by the final utility design for this area in order to determine what areas can effectively be served by city utilities. The city's intent is to serve as much land as possible in this area with city services and limit the number of new homes that are on private septic and well systems. The final sewer design for this area does allow for this area to be served by city utilities, the area within Aster Landing, and as such, the MUSA boundary should be refined in this area to reflect the addition of this property. It does not require a comprehensive plan amendment because we officially, put this notation in the comp plan that said we would kind of finalize these boundaries as we got more details with the developments around there. So again, the site is currently zoned R2, single-family estate, and the applicant is requesting to rezone it to R4, which is urban residential, to be consistent with the refinement of the MUSA and to reflect the property's ability to be served by city utilities. This request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposed preliminary plat creates 25 new single-family lots and 2 outlots. Outlot A, which is on the south, is identified for stormwater management, and Outlot B on the north will provide a future trail connection to the west. The development will also provide a public street connection that will connect Iron Horse Road in the Highcroft development to the north with Compass Point Road in the Summerlin development to the south. The applicant will install a right turn lane on Dale Road onto Iron Horse Road. In regard to Iron Horse Road, a concern was raised by the neighbors regarding construction traffic during Aster Landing's development, that they would utilize the Highcroft neighborhood to access the site. So in response, there is a condition of approval that requires that Iron Horse Road would be barricaded until the installation of the first lift of asphalt through Aster Landing. Once the barricade is removed, then there would be a sign indicating that construction traffic should not go through the Highcroft area. Utilities, city sewer and water, will be extended to the site from the north or the Highcroft development to serve this development. Half of the units, or roughly half of the units, the southern half, will be required to install individual lift stations or grinder pumps due to the depth of the sewer line. This has been successfully utilized in some of the nearby developments. In fact, Dale Bluffs just to the south and Glenview Farms to the north have used this on sort of those fringe areas of the MUSA boundary. In regard to Dale Road, there is a proposed right turn lane to be constructed concurrent with the development. This is a safety improvement, not a capacity improvement. The CIP for the city does not identify any additional improvements to Dale Road in the next 5-year period. The current traffic volume on this street is about 1,500 ADT. That was taken in 2019. In accordance with our comprehensive plan, looking out to 2040, the estimated traffic forecast is roughly 5,300 trips per day, and it has an anticipated service level of A or B. And so 2-lane road is anticipated to be needed well into the future for Dale Road. But we will continue to evaluate the area as development continues to occur. And just to pull out a little segment of our comp plan to kind of show you again, this segment of Dale Road between Pioneer and Woodbury Drive, this 5,300 is an estimated traffic forecast for 2040, and you'll see the green indicates that it's a level of service A or B. They are requesting a planned unit development for the site, which would provide for the general layout, the subdivision's design criteria, and identify the permitted uses, which is your single-family homes. They are requesting flexibility to the zoning ordinance in regard to the front yard house setbacks, proposing that they be decreased from 35 feet to 25 feet. This request is very consistent with many of the other Phase 1 and 2 developments. Other setbacks would remain the same as required in the zoning ordinance, 5 feet for the garage, 10 feet for the house, and a rear yard of 35 feet and a corner lot of 20 feet. In exchange for the flexibility, the applicant is proposing to grade and dedicate Outlot B to the city at their cost. So Outlot B is that outlot on the north that would provide a future trail connection. PUDs must meet certain standards as outlined in the city code, and these are outlined in your Planning Commission report and implemented through a CUP, and there's a resolution with the findings for a CUP included with your packet. Aster Landing subdivision provides a sidewalk on the east side of Iron Horse Road, which will connect the existing Highcroft development to the north with the Summerlin development to the south. As this graphic shows, there's a highly connected system created here with access to numerous pedestrian loops and with the adjacent developments. There's also several parks that are kind of highlighted in these yellow circles, but I just wanted to outline how many are within about a half a mile of the project. So you can see, again, very supported by parks in the neighborhood. In terms of landscaping and tree removal, the applicant is proposing to remove a number of trees from the site in order to facilitate the necessary grading for utilities and road construction. Per the city code, they are required to provide tree replacement and an additional 3 trees per lot, which are put in at the time of the building permit. The additional tree mitigation and replacement would be required to include planting trees in the city parks or by our parks maintenance staff, or cash in lieu of planting. So some of the trees required in the replacement will be put on site, primarily around the perimeter of the project, but they can't meet all of the replacement on site, so those would go either into a city park at our choosing or a cash in lieu of a tree. The final mitigation and payment plan would be finalized prior to the land disturbance permit being issued. And you can see here sort of that cluster of trees. It's sort of where the single-family home currently is on the site. This slide shows some of the potential home elevations. Right now, Coutinho Homes is one of the builders that has been selected, and that's the only one that we're aware of at this time. But this just gives you some sampling of some of the elevations of the proposed homes. There was a neighborhood meeting on April 26th. There were, I believe, 9 residents in attendance at the virtual meeting. We also met several times with a property owner to the west, Mr. Hang, to answer some of the questions regarding being immediately adjacent to the property. We also tried several times to meet with the property to the east, but to no success. But again, we did have the neighborhood meeting properly noticed, several folks there, questions related to the zoning, the construction traffic, which there's conditions on, the pedestrian connections, which we've talked about, tree removal and replacement, price range of the homes, landscaping, and improvements to Dale Road. With that, I will mention that I'm not sure if it's Tracy or Ben from TEG Holdings is here. Are they in? There we go. Must be Tracy. And Ryan is here from the Planning Commission as well.
Thank you. Ryan, do you want to come up and give the commission report?
Sure. So most of the discussion from the Planning Commission has actually been answered tonight. A lot of it revolved around sort of additional traffic on Dale Road, improvements to Dale Road. Otherwise, really, the Planning Commission approved of the, it was a unanimous approval, and weren't a lot of questions, to be honest, so.
Great, thank you. Any other comments from the public, the audience, on this project? If not, I'll be looking for a motion to close the hearing. Oh, come on forward. You have a green sheet? Okay. You can hand it to Janelle there and it'll get passed down and around. Did you hear me early on state your name and address and got all that?
Yeah, I've been here before.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. My name is Dwayne Hang. I have the property just west of this track. And so I'm at 9524 Dale Road. Couple concerns. A couple years ago, they made improvements in Dale Road. I thought they were gonna, the sight lines going east and west are terrible on Dale Road. And they're, to get the federal money, I thought they were gonna have to improve those sight lines, which they didn't do anything. And then I have the 660 feet frontage on the south end of, and there's a mistake in your map. It's not Bailey Lake. It's Bailey Ponding Area. The city has an easement on my property for flooding, so it's private property. Just to correct that. They wouldn't improve the 660 feet frontage in my property because of the environmental damage that would be due, which is ridiculous. They took out, for that ponding purposes, they've removed 180 trees already. And I've had them remove some additional ones that have died since. And if you look, as I understand, they're gonna have to plant 179 trees to replace all the trees they're removing on this property. And they're still 150 short. Well, what if, when you look at all the other developments on Dale Road, if you look and see how many trees have been, mature trees have been taken out, the environmental impact is just tremendous. And I don't know how much more of the trees that you can remove and have a decent environment out there. The other point is, Bailey Ponding Area is a dumping ground, and I mean dumping. The water is so polluted that it's already, they're testing my well, and they're testing wells on the Salem Meadow, additional north. They haven't found contaminants in my well. It's not from the 3M issue. And I don't remember if the technician said it was lead or mercury they're finding in the wells in Salem Meadow area. Luckily, they haven't found anything in mine. But the pollution level out there is not the most pleasant area to look at anymore. And I know they've talked about acquiring my property for a park. All I ask if they do that, and I'm willing to sell to the city, but I'm not willing to, it has to be a competitive bid. I mean, they tried to acquire the 3/4 of my 20 acres for the flooding. I had paid $2,000 an acre in 76 and 91. They said it was worthless land, agricultural land, so they offered me 500 an acre. I've had so many offers from people to buy my property. And if you ever come out there, you know why, because I have total privacy. People don't even know there's a house back there. So I don't have to go up north to spend the weekend out in the privacy because I have it. Anyway, those are things to consider. But anyway.
Great. Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Is there anything else from the public? All right, if not, then I'll be looking for a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Open it up to council for questions and comments.
Go ahead. All right, I have several.
That wasn't my question.
Oh, I thought that was. Okay, could you talk a little bit more about the trees? Did you say that there are 179 trees that are being removed and that's the number that needs to be replaced?
One moment. One moment, I just need to find my staff report with the number. I don't have that in my notes. So it does not give, they're required to install 179 trees. That's not the removal number. So it's based on the inches, how we calculate the replacement.
Okay, and so they're required to install 179 trees, and how many are they installing on the property?
That's the number actually that they're installing, and then there's still beyond that. So they're installing the 179. I apologize for that. So one moment again. I don't know that it gives a total, but in your packet, there's a list of all of the trees that they are installing there. And then again, the removal is, it's based on the inches. I don't have the details here in front of me. I apologize for that. But again, just not enough room on the actual site to physically put all of the replacement trees, because again, if they're larger trees, it mounts into many trees to replace the one tree because of the inches that are being replaced.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to seek clarification on is that for any of our new developments, they're required to install 3 trees, one in the front, 2 in the back.
Yep, and that's shown on here.
Okay, so these additional trees are replacement. We're not double counting
No.
the trees that are already
No.
required.
Yep.
Okay.
They're in addition to the 3 per lot.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about that very first slide where you were talking about the Musa line and the sewer and not knowing where exactly? Are we saying that some of these houses might not be connected to sewer, or did I misunderstand that?
Nope. What I was saying, Councilmember Date, is when we did the 2040 comprehensive plan, we did a rough boundary, this dotted line that you see.
I see.
The stuff inside there, this gray is the R2. That was deemed at sort of a high level that it would not be easy to serve that without a lift station, a city-owned lift station to facilitate that. Not knowing the final depths of the sewer around the areas as we built out the system, we knew that some of these areas on here may be able to add into the city service. But we didn't know the details of what Highcroft was going to be developing at the time we did the comprehensive plan. So we did that here, and we did that in the northeast area as well, where Spancel Hill is. There's a lot of topography changes in those areas, so it's really difficult at a high-level comprehensive plan to get a very definitive line as to where that MUSA line can be served and when it can't be. So as we went through, rather than having to go back for a comp plan amendment every time we wanted to add 5 or 10 acres, we did this asterisk, and the Met Council agreed with that it made sense to high level. We're intending to serve as much as we can. We don't have the final design of all of the sewer in the area, so that's really, but things within the yellow is the urban area, so those are the areas planning to be served. So this is Highcroft in here. Actually, in the south, the stuff to the south, Summerlin, that's all being served by city sewer right now. The ones in the gray have private septic and well. So you have Salem Meadows up in here, you have Erin Court area over here, and then just some exception parcels.
So I guess what I was just looking for clarification is that all of the houses in this development will be served by city water.
Yes, they will. I'm sorry.
No,
If I
that's okay.
totally.
I appreciate
And sewer.
city water and
Yes,
sewer.
yes,
Okay.
definitely.
I
I
appreciate all
apologize. I
that
totally
detail
missed your
and
question.
everybody else. No, it's okay. Everybody else here,
Yes.
it's good for them to have that detail too. I just wanted to make sure that was very clear. Okay, the other comment I had was about the outlets and park dedication. Is park dedication in cash?
Yes. I
Okay,
believe
so the outlets are not part of park
No,
dedication.
again,
This
through
is-
the PUD flexibility, they're dedicating that one outlet to the north in addition to the park dedication. The outlet to the south is the stormwater pond.
Okay. Finally, my last question, could you go back to the slide with the trail plan?
I'll get there.
And this is kind of a tangent, but why do we not have a trail west of Highcroft along the stormwater pond? Along Bailey Lake?
In this area?
Yes.
I do not know the answer to that, Councilmember Date.
Is it topography? Doesn't it sit pretty high? I think it's wooded and it sits higher.
We own that though, right? We took that as part of
Believe
park
we did,
dedication.
yes.
This might be a tangent, but I'd like us to look and check on
we
that,
have
because
it-
I thought the long-term plan was to
And
circle it.
we have a future Highcroft Park here, so we haven't designed what that final park will look like, so that could probably be studied with part of that.
But especially if parts of it south, the southern part, along Bailey Lake does have the opportunity to have a park or a trail someday in the future, we certainly would want to connect those.
Certainly.
And topography-wise, I guess I don't know the difference between that side of the lake and the other side of the lake, but that other side of the lake's pretty steep too, and we found a way. So that's a tangent. But could you just explain then what the trail plan is? You said that Outlot B, that was reserved for a trail connection, and what is the plan to connect that to?
Again, I don't know that I've mentioned this, but Mr. Hang mentioned that his property is identified as a priority park site. So if at such time that we want to approach him or he wants to approach us, we would be looking to acquire that as a future park site. So that outlet would provide that access, that trail access to that park.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all I have.
I have a question. To be clear, is there a sidewalk then that runs down this road? And
There's a sidewalk on the east side proposed of Iron Horse,
okay.
similar as it is to the north and
Okay.
to the south.
I just had one quick question. Do you know off the top of your head, so it is Highcroft just to the north?
Yes.
Are the setbacks there 25?
I
as
believe
well?
they are. A lot of our properties in the Phase 2 area are that 25.
That was exactly one of my questions.
Yep.
So do we increase the setback on the side with the sidewalk?
No, they are the same on either side.
And then how wide are the roads?
I believe the street is 60 feet wide, or the right-of-way is 60 feet wide. 28, did you say? Thank you, Terry.
And then will there be, oh, I'm so sorry, my mic is not on. And then the lift station. Is there gonna be a lift station? You mentioned something.
There are
so-
private lift stations, so these ejector pumps or grinder pumps that would be in roughly the southern half of these lots because of the depth of the sewer. They need a pump to elevate that up to the sewer line. So we have those right now in this area. These lots over here have them, and I believe it's not shown on the screen, but just in the north in kind of the edge of Glenview Farms that backs up against the Bailey Ponding area also have that system. So we've been using them successfully again to bring as many folks onto city sewer and water versus private septic and well and allow that ability to develop.
And so are those privately maintained?
They are
then?
privately
Yeah.
owned and privately maintained, yes.
And then my only concern then is, I heard it mentioned about the traffic through is it Highcroft neighborhood, right? And especially with the Woodbury Drive and Dale Road construction going on, that we want to make sure that everybody's clear on how they're going to get to that neighborhood then.
Correct. Councilmember Wilson, so there will be a barricade at this point so that construction traffic, while they're doing the heavy, grading and all of the development of utilities and those kinds of things, would have to access this year probably from the west because this intersection is closed. So they'll have to come in from the south off of Dale Road to do that. Okay. And the barricade, the condition is that the barricade could go away once this road is in with the first lift of asphalt. That's when the real heavy construction equipment is out of there. And then you get your home construction folks who I would imagine are, again, it's probably going to be more convenient. That likely won't start in the home construction, won't all take place this year. So hopefully some of this will be open and they'll be able to come from Woodbury Drive at that point as well.
So I just want to say I always just have a concern about the small setbacks, especially with a sidewalk in front of it, and then on top of a skinny road, because it creates parking issues, especially on the sidewalks side of the road, since cars are not supposed to be parking in front of the sidewalks, and the streets are narrower, so when you park on the street, I understand it's a slowing mechanism for drivers, but sometimes it becomes a hazard for kids.
And Councilmember Wilson, that was sort of my concern a little bit, is that whether this area now becomes an alternative way to cut off, not wanting to go out to Woodbury Drive to come around onto Dale Road, that they do the cut through and might be speeding through. No, I guess I don't really know if it's good or bad that the other ones, that it would be uniform. So again, hopefully if traffic, I just didn't know if it seemed to feel wider, more north, and then all of a sudden they come in a little bit more of a narrowing stretch here. That was a little bit my concern as well.
Are the roads to the north 28 or 32?
28.
They are, okay.
I think one thing that might ease the concern a little bit here is that these, I'm assuming, and someone can clarify, are 3-car garage homes with wider driveways then. So I think most of the newer developments are 3-car garages. So that would leave a lot more space for parking on the driveway. But we do the setbacks a lot. It seems like something that's more and more common, and I always kind of wonder about it too. On the other hand, we get, other benefits from it. So, it's a trade-off.
I guess this goes along with what's already there. But I have a 3-car garage, and I have a lot of cars, because those little kids grow up.
That's true, and they all grow up at the same time in new development.
And we're parking in the street. Not in the winter, though.
Yeah.
Can I continue on the street conversation for a second? A homeowner had mentioned Dale Road and sightlines. Help refresh my memory. As part of the Dale Road 19 project, that is going to assist the grade, or we're shaving, or we're adding, we're doing something with sightlines. Tony, can you help my failing memory, please?
Yeah, Mayor and members of council, the eastern, or I guess the first about 600 feet west of Woodbury Drive, there's really poor sightlines there. That is being corrected today with construction. That construction is expected to end in the next month. So That's part of the Woodbury Drive project, as you'd mentioned. The sightlines west of Aaron Court have been corrected with a project over the last, started in 2018. So those have been corrected, and through this area here, it's relatively flatter grade. We're at the bottom of the hill. Those sightlines are adequate now for the roadway. So after this year's construction, we should be corrected.
Okay, thanks, Tony.
Can you clarify from the picture what 600 feet to the west of Woodbury Drive is?
It is past the church property and the next property west there. So about where that cursor
About where the
is.
D is on road?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. That's a significant improvement.
Yeah, okay.
But my question on Lot B, as that intersection then carries through, are we gonna be able to, what's the screening look like at the corner there? Because if you come down that grade, I'm trying to remember the grade as you come up to Dale Road, I think it's gonna be either set.
Are you talking Outlet A, you mean?
Sorry,
instead
B,
of-
no, Lot A, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there gonna be significant plantings there on the corner? So if I'm trying to look right for oncoming traffic as it's coming down Dale, what's that sight line gonna look like?
Councilmember Morris, it looks as though they kind of have this triangular sight line that you can see, which we, that clear view triangle that we talk about.
Okay. And the
Tony,
east side
yes.
is also, I'm trying to look at that.
There's not much, this is more shrubbery, it looks like underneath, and the trees quite a ways back.
Additional right-of-ways being dedicated with this project, and those plantings are set back near the right-of-way. So there should be adequate sight lines at the intersection.
Thank you.
And then again, a right turn lane being added to go north onto Iron Horse Road.
And are there any plans at this time for the property to the east of this?
So you'll
Is that
see,
one single
yes.
parcel and?
Mayor Burt, this parcel to the east, again, the staff made numerous attempts to reach out to them to facilitate some of the grading that needed to be done on this site. We were unsuccessful in reaching them with door hangers, calls, letters, those kinds of things. So at this point, we don't know what their plans are for future development. There is a future street you'll see here that's sort of just, tucked in there or stubbed in, so that should in the future they desire to do similar to what Aster Landing, we wouldn't have to have another curb cut out onto Dale Road.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
I'm sorry, one more question came up around the ejector ponds. You said they're privately owned. Are they owned by an association or individuals?
Yeah, I believe they're individual, right? Yes.
And if one of those breaks or goes out, how does that impact the city? Does it
Tony, you know
impact
anything
the
about that?
resident, like a sump pump, or does it have impacts on Bailey Lake or the city?
The homeowner would be responsible for repairs and would need to call a plumber to have that.
Okay. But it wouldn't like
It backflow
hurt
prevent-
the
Back
city,
into their
I guess,
home.
is what I'm,
Probably overflow to the home.
Yeah,
okay.
they'll want to fix it.
Yeah, I definitely never want that to happen to someone. I'm sure it'd be awful. I just wanted to make sure that if it did break, that we were protected.
Yes.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll be seeking a motion if anyone wants to carry one forward.
Sure. I move to adopt ordinance 1999. Am I reading the right one? What do you want first?
Yes.
You want preliminary
Yep.
plat?
However you want to do it, I've got them up on the screen if you want to read
Oh, hey, look at
that.
that, thanks. Adopt ordinance 1999 rezoning the property from R2 rural estate to R4 urban residential.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, Kim Blazer, please do the roll call.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Santini,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Date,
Aye.
Mayor Burt.
Aye. That ordinance passes.
I move to approve the conditional use permit via resolution 21-107, resolution adopting the findings of fact.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, Kim Blazer, roll call, please.
Councilmember Santini,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Date,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Mayor Burt.
Aye. That resolution passes.
Adopt a motion approving Aster Landing Planned Unit Development and Preliminary Plat, project number 27-2021-00434, subject to the conditions as outlined in council letter 21-137.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Kim Blazer, roll call, please.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Date,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Santini,
Aye.
Mayor Burt,
Aye, that resolution passes. Or it wasn't a
that C?
resolution.
No,
it was
that was,
the-
you know, yes, now you
That
need
was the
to
PUD.
D.
Approval of Aster Landing final plat, project number 27-2021-00435.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Kim Blazer, roll call, please.
Councilmember Date,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Santini,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Burt.
Aye, that passes.
Do we need E?
Yeah.
Is this a resolution?
You,
I move to authorize the mayor and city administrator to execute the development agreement subject to conditions as outlined in Council Letter 21-137.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Motion and second, any discussion? Kim, the roll call, please.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Santini,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Date,
Aye.
Mayor Burt.
Aye. Okay, we'll now move on to no discussion items. Kim, at this time, do we have any additional virtual open forum comments?
There are no comments.
Okay, so then we'll move on to staff reports, and yay, it's transportation report update time. We only get these May through October, second meeting of the month, and Tony is here to give us an update. Welcome, Tony. Looking forward to hearing about construction season.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. It is the first transportation update, and it is very active out there. We'll start with the roadway rehabilitation project for 2021. This is in the preserve area. Active construction is currently happening in phase 1. It began on May 20th. Work is scheduled to be completed in this area on June 18th. The focus of that work is on Wood Duck Drive, Drake Road, and Teal Road south of Tamarack Road. Concrete curb removals and replacement is scheduled for the week of May 31st. The second location of road rehab work for the year is on Hudson Road, west of Radio Drive. Work is scheduled to begin on June 7th. It is a mill overlay project, so it is anticipated to be completed by July 1st. The project includes some trail repaving on the south side of Hudson Road. And also, we anticipate Hudson Road to remain open to traffic with some lane shifts throughout the work on that project.
Tony, may I ask a question on that? We had some that came to that meeting having a concern about the assessment for the Portillo's, exactly. Can you just share how that got resolved, or?
That is currently going through an assessment appeal process in the district courts.
Okay.
Does that come back to council?
If there were a settlement agreement or a change in the assessment, then that would be brought back to the council.
Okay.
So. The Bailey Road Management and Safety Project was completed in 2020, so last construction season. This year, we did see paving in the last week on the trail on the north side of the roadway. So that completes the connection of the trail out there.
Yay.
And this year, we anticipate seeing the landscaping project start up here in the upcoming weeks. We expect that to be early June. The full schedule will be provided the next couple of weeks as we just are engaging that contractor here to understand their schedule to install landscaping. The traffic impacts with that project are expected to be temporary lane closures to accommodate the workers that will be installing landscaping.
Any idea how many trees? I see some tree pictures. How many trees are going in? Do we know?
I do not have a number on that. I can report back to council with that.
Okay.
It is extensive. There's extensive landscaping.
And it will be going from
Radio
where to where?
Drive to Wood Lane Drive.
Okay.
So the 1 mile extent there.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
There's a number of medians that will receive landscaping, and then also the right away in the boulevards adjacent to the trails.
Okay, thank you.
The Woodbury Drive and Local Roads project began last year. The majority of the construction was focused on Woodbury Drive. This is a cooperative project between the county and the city. The focus of construction this year is on a number of the city roadways. Active construction that you'll see today is on Tamarack Road and some trails along Commerce Drive and Rivertown Drive. The closure that you'll see out there today is at Sunrise Drive, leaving that intersection closed to date. And the roadway on Tamarack Road west to Commerce Drive. The intersection at Commerce Drive is open to allow circulation of that area. The contractor is looking at paving that area in the next 2 weeks and then working towards shifting that construction work on Tamarack Road to the west at the intersection of Commerce Drive, west towards Preserve Trail. The Woodbury Drive Corridor Management and Safety Improvement Project. This is a project in the southeast corner of the city. It is focused on Woodbury Drive, but south of Bailey Road to Dale Road. The active construction today is really to set up temporary bypass. We're calling that a bypass for accommodating traffic while the roundabout is constructed at Dale Road and Woodbury Drive. The temporary bypass will build a temporary roadway west of the intersection, kind of where the church is situated today. And that will accommodate traffic while they construct the roundabout. The contractor was given a 70-day period to get the roundabout constructed and open, and then continue to maintain traffic through that roundabout. Traffic is closed on Dale Road at the intersection of Woodbury Drive west, about 600 feet. Once the temporary bypass is opened up and paved, you will have access to Woodbury Drive and Dale Road on the west side of Woodbury Drive. Then the east side of Woodbury Drive, or east side of Dale Road on the east side of Woodbury Drive would be closed temporarily till the roundabout is constructed over that 70-day period. 70 total calendar days. So it should be a push the contractor to work and focus their efforts on that area. So,
great.
To limit the traffic impacts out there. Hudson Road and Settlers Ridge Parkway. This area was closed to traffic on April 12th. That was to accommodate significant grading that needed to happen. The developer was responsible for grading the roadway corridors adjacent to the road and within the roadway. That closure is allowing that construction to happen. The construction contract for the roadway portion of the project is anticipated to begin here. My date is next couple weeks. I do not have an exact date. So that construction should get underway. That work is anticipated to take the entire summer. October 1st is the expected substantial completion where that would open. Those improvements will include trail construction, regradings of the road, additional turn lanes, and then a signal at the intersection of Settlers Ridge Parkway and Hudson Road.
I think Janelle had an update.
Councilmember Morris. Yes, Condeva is working very quickly on their project. I think their original timeline was July. It's been pushed out a little bit, but probably more towards the end of summer. They may get some of their initial testing. They have to do some testing with the state before they can open and actually do production. So they need to have parts of it open before the other parts. So they're really pushing to get that piece of it completed quicker. So probably again towards that end of summer, maybe early fall.
And their access into their property will be from what with this construction, road construction? Will they?
They have access, the contractor's providing access through Hudson Road.
Okay, from the east?
I don't recall,
Okay.
but I do know they're being provided access through construction.
Okay.
Can I
That's
ask a
good.
question? What about the apartment buildings that we just approved there? How are they gaining access to them?
The Karen Drive intersection at Hudson Road is still open, so the closure is east of Karen Drive. And they're being provided access to Karen Drive from Hudson Road to the west.
I was just up there giving a plaque delivery with Janelle the other day, and that works pretty well. We got to those Beyond apartments easily just from Karen Drive, and the other new projects are going west of there, so they'll have easy access.
Reminder to residents, if they want regular updates on projects, to sign up through the InTouch system. We also do have a transportation capital improvement plan GIS map that does provide interactive experience for updates and project status and plan projects through the city's website. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Anybody? Thank you, Tony. And Clint, we'll move to you now for your city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor Burt. For neighborhood meetings, we have no items scheduled. For the Planning Commission meeting of June 7th, 4 items: the Hidden Meadow variance, commercial vehicle ordinance discussion, Woodbury Baptist Church digital sign, and Our Happy Place adult daycare conditional use permit. Preliminary items scheduled for the council workshop meeting of June 2nd. We're going to be meeting at the La Lake Retreat. And we'll be discussing a number of council priorities, actually 5, it looks like at this point, council priorities for that meeting, and that will start at 6:30 p.m. Preliminary public hearing meeting scheduled for June 9th will be the commercial vehicle ordinance. And then in terms of other meetings, we have the Parks and Natural Resource Commission Briarcroft Park Tour on June 1st, 6 p.m., Briarcroft Park. Meet at the mobile home on Arrowwood Path, and then the Parks and Natural Resource Commission meeting will return back at 7 p.m. to the Ash conference room. That's my report.
Can you go back to what's happening on June 1st?
June 1st, Parks and Natural Resource Commission.
Oh, the Parks and Natural Resource Commission is doing okay, and where are they walking through? Which
They're
park?
walking through Briarcroft Park.
Okay.
On site at 6 p.m., and then they'll return back to the City Hall Ash conference room for the regular meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for Clint? Okay, I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting, and we are going to be retiring downstairs to the workshop. Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, we're adjourned.